what's amazing is usually where you find one, you will find the other. They complement each other. One really is not complete without the other. Their names are wisdom and knowledge. We call it education. That's the formal search for wisdom and knowledge. The dictionary says it this way: the act or process of imparting or acquiring general knowledge. And then it explains, developing the powers of reasoning and judgment. That's what wisdom and knowledge is all about. And the general preparation of oneself or others intellectually for material life. That's what wisdom and knowledge is for. Man's plan cannot appropriately unlock the secret codes that reveal the things God has hidden from the world of carnal man. Wisdom is that sought-after power of reasoning and judgment that Webster spoke of. We find a wonderful reference of that in Psalms 111, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You can't have a building without a foundation. You can have nothing without a foundation. You've got to have something to build on. And if you're going to have wisdom, the Bible says it can only be built on the foundation of the fear of the Lord. That is the beginning of wisdom. We have an opposite of wisdom. That's the word foolish. It brings foolishness. 1 Samuel 13:13, and Samuel said to Saul, Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God. Again, we find Proverbs 1:7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of what? Knowledge. I told you they were twins. The fear of the Lord is the beginning, the foundation of knowledge. But the foolish despise wisdom and instruction. The greatest example of this is preaching. The Bible says, how can we hear without a preacher? But some don't want wisdom. They've perverted it and said it's not for me, so they don't show up to hear the preaching. Some have chosen the foolish way and have rejected the knowledge. They're not there for the preaching of the Word, which brings wisdom and knowledge. They have forfeited that and have chosen the way of the foolish, which leads to destruction. The Bible said, forsake not the assembling of yourselves. But yet they do that, and when they do, they're forfeiting wisdom and knowledge and saying, I choose foolishness. I'll take my chances. 1 Samuel 15:23 says, For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. This was said to a man by the name of Saul, who was the first king of Israel. I'm talking about a country that today is the most thought about country in the world, Israel. Their first king, Saul. He was told by the prophet, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord. I suppose he didn't make it to church either. I suppose he had a fishing trip. I suppose he was tired. Or I suppose there was somebody at church that, well, if they're going to be there, I'm not going. The prophet said, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. I hope each of you graduates come into your domain. I don't know that I have seen a group of graduates before when I felt that each one of them had within them the key to success. Each of you do. You have the personality for it. Usually we have a couple that don't have much personality. You do. You're able to influence. There's always a line behind you. And I know you're important. I've seen each one of you around with, you walk around like this.